Happy Monday, beautiful souls, wherever you are on this phenomenal planet. We are here for Shift Your Thinking, where we transform our inner experience to a phenomenal outer experience for 13 minutes of our day. We do it together. I have to run that back. Let's run the intro back real quick. Let's run it back real quick. For those of you who are new to the show, again, I said we're bringing Shift Your Thinking back. Welcome back. Let's run it back. Do you remember that? It feels so great. I trust you have had a productive weekend, a restful weekend. If you work during the week and you are off today, then welcome to your day off. Make it a great one. All right, so I'm Lisa Gillett. I am also known as Super Agent. I'm your host and creator of Shifter Thinking, Ready, Set, Real Estate, all the other fun stuff that I've been doing online and offline. And I do this, well, it's personal development, and that's a daily thing, but I get to share this with you on Mondays. We used to do it on Tuesdays. Given my schedule with shows back to back, I said I'm not going to do that anymore. I've learned how to revamp things just a bit. Before I jump into this, let's make sure we get you to drop in your comments below. Say hi, say hello, let me know you're here. 1, lets me know you're here. 2, lets me know you shared it. Share some love. We are in episode 289. Deposit into your relationship. Deposit into your relationship. Also, shout out to those of you who are tuning in on the radio podcast everywhere, on all platforms. And hashtag replay if you're not able to catch the live and you're joining us on your time on demand. Hashtag replay so we know you are chiming in so that I can jump in and just kind of follow along as you go through. So we are continuing with Dean Del Sesto's Shift Your Thinking. This is the Shift Your Thinking for Success. So a little different from the one that we started off before. Nevertheless, still awesome. So we are on section 2 of this awesome book, and we are talking about depositing into your relationships. The great news is this comes as a great reminder for those of you who are chasing. It's so funny. I'm meeting great people. If you're meeting great people, drop a comment down below and say, yes, I am meeting great people. It's 2022. Are you meeting great people? Are you attracting, right? Are you magnetizing that? I was out in the field this past weekend, connected with additional investors and clients, buyer clients, potential seller clients. And one of the things that I noticed is integrity came up, professionalism came up, just common courtesy things in business. And it's so interesting that in that dialogue, even though we're networking and we're connecting, this particular person was sharing an experience they had with an industry colleague I know of, right? I don't know people personally like that unless you're in my circle, but that I know of. And what was interesting was he was sharing his experience with that person and felt like it was unprofessional. And he ended the as we were discussing, and then we circled back as we were working on putting a deal together, we ended the night in text message where he said, this is the reason why I will not ever do a transaction with that person again. Just unprofessional. I thought that was timely for today's segment, because here we are talking about depositing into your relationships. Let's jump in. I mean, right on time. All right, so the author says, keep your brand personal. Keeping your brand personal intact is like, keeping your personal brand intact is like treading water. He says, once your effort stops, things go down from there. Ooh, very key, because as I was thinking about this, 2 things popped up, right? As he's sharing with me about his experience, hey, Latia, she says, yes, I'm here. Peace and love, Queen. Thank you very much. He says, as I'm here, as we're connecting, does that mean and he's sharing his experience, does that mean it's an opportunity? Hello, Dexter, welcome. Does that mean there's an opportunity for me to down talk that other person so I can make myself look better in that discussion? Pay attention when people are doing that, to highlight themselves and in an opportunity. And it could be an opportunity, right? For some people, they go, oh yeah, so and so is, that's why, I do it this way. I didn't do that. I let him share what he experienced, and I acknowledged. That's it. Moved on. It wasn't a time to bash someone else. It wasn't a time to make myself feel better over what someone else wasn't able to do or perform. This is all important as we're talking about personal branding, because remember, as people are connecting and networking with us, they're also paying attention how you are sharing past experiences as well, right? Are you that person that is saying, oh yeah, you start venting, be careful. I love it. So he says, once your effort stops, things go down from there. It's almost being on, which is why your brand and your personal brand should be aligned with your core values. So you don't have to switch up. Yes, she says, congrats on episode 289. Thank you. We're doing it. We're sticking it out. He says, our brand is influenced by relationships, and every relationship is like a bank account. Drop that in the comments. Bank account. Every relationship is like a bank account. Since we've got people thinking about chasing money and going after the money, and it's, if you are doing people versus prospects, you're in it for the long game, and magnetizing money is that much more easier. All right, bank accounts. That's right. Drop it in there. He says, in some relationships, you have a healthy balance. That's what we're talking about on this segment. Depositing into your relationships. Some relationships, you have a healthy balance. Others, he says, you may be nearing bankruptcy. All right. Okay. Yes, this is an honest session. Be honest with yourself. This is why, and hear me out. Some people would disagree with me saying I don't know if I don't know about this thing called balance. People say we've got to have work-life balance. But here's the thing, if you are putting your best effort into one aspect of family, work, business, startup, NFT, crypto, art, reading, studying, school, you get it? One aspect of your life is going to be short. Like he said, nearing bankruptcy, because you are focused, tunnel vision, right? And you are obsessed. How many of you know what I'm talking about here? Raise your hand, give me a thumbs up. You know what I'm talking about here. And I've done that. I know what that's like. Because if you're in rebuilding, I've had to rebuild relationships. I've had to rebuild my finances. I've had to build from the bottom up. Having achieved it, lost it, built it up. The beautiful thing is knowing the formula that you can get it done. All right, let's continue. Get off my soapbox. Miss Taylor says, yes, indeed. All right, I'm not the only one here. Don't let me lie to you, and don't let me be the only one that's being truthful. All right. Don't let me lie to you. Your relationship, he says, with every colleague, vendor. Oh, you didn't think you were in a relationship with your vendors? Absolutely. He says an employee, for those of you employees, independent contractors, you may be one yourself. You may have some as part of your team. That you're 1099, right? Get those 1099s out. He says even friends or family members. Have a relational bank account filled with equity that has multiple points of value. Let's pause here real quick and let's talk about this thing of equity, because oftentimes we're hearing equity in terms of money. We're talking about relationship equity. Dropping a trap. My favorite term here, and I borrowed this term many years ago. I learned it. I borrowed this term. Drop in the comments, spiritual escrow. Spiritual escrow. This thing called spiritual escrow. Could you imagine that there's an accounting happening, right? And I don't want you to get all bent out of shape over this, right? There's an accounting happening in your life that you are filling into your buckets. And the beautiful thing, and I've had this, and I know you've had this, and you call this whatever you're calling it, and whatever name you're giving it, depending on your faith, right? Depending on what truth you are operating from. But have you been in a scenario where you were back against the wall, had no control of the circumstances, and you needed something to happen, someone to come through? And guess what? You could tap into your spiritual escrow, and that thing would come to fruition. It would complete itself. It would show itself to where you're like, oh my God. Right? Woo! Woo! Right? Spiritual escrows. Absolutely. All right, let's continue. He says, for example, he says, based on the level of interest I've created so far, he says, you're on page 14 of this book, which means all you know from me is what I have written. He said, I have amassed a certain level of equity in my brand bank account with you. Let's think about that. Are people building their bank account with your brand as well? What are they saying about you? What's so nice, my clients and friends and relationships, they tell me what they say about me. I had to tell so-and-so about you. My husband and I work together, and this is such a new dynamic for us in terms of working together. And guess what? I mean, this is such an awesome and beautiful thing, is that, I knew this would happen because he's so awesome and he's amazing. I'm not saying that just because he's my husband, but I knew that. And I knew once people connected with him, they would be having the same experience with him, if not better, than the one they were having with me. He's part of that brand, right? Because now he's an extension of me, vice versa. I'm an extension of him. I like this. I like where this is going. He says, I may have a small amount of equity, as he's talking about building this personal brand with us, or perhaps the account is looking pretty healthy and you're looking forward to reading more. Yes, absolutely, because we did Shift Your Thinking 200 Ways a couple years ago, and I said, you know what, this Dean person, this is good stuff here. We've got to bring him back. And here we are. He says, maybe I'm just about bankrupt, or you may stop reading and look for the receipt. He says, so in 15 minutes or so, you formed a very concrete opinion of me, and you'll continue on to every page, or not, right? He says, you probably even assessed part of my value when you first saw the cover of my book, right? That whole thing, don't judge a book by its cover, but honestly, isn't that all we get as first impressions? Isn't that why art and, when people are posting and spending, that's why Canva is so important to businesses, because that's what people get is first impressions. Truth be told. Hey, Nikki, welcome. Hey, brother. Oh, Daryl's in the building. Long time. Congrats. Isn't that all they get? Is that first impression? And usually people say, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. But listen, when we're talking about branding and personal brand experiences, that is all they get. If it wasn't that important, there wouldn't be so much concern about dress, how you show up, how you present, how you're speaking, whether you're connecting. Let's continue. He says there's no way he can get around that. He says a few years ago, one of his larger business development clients called. Concerned because one of their clients was considering canceling their annual contract worth millions of dollars and several jobs, he said they didn't know the scope of the problem, but their relational account. We're talking about relational account. Hey, Molly, welcome. She says, I love it. Me too. He says their brand is perceived by the customer / client. Depending your industry, you either have clients or customer. I have clients. Know what you're offering. Are you offering a service or product? Right? People versus prospects. I didn't say people over profits. We can still humbly be in servitude and make a profit. That's what we're in business for. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's when we start thinking prospects, that's when we disconnect with people. I'll continue. He says, my recommendation was for the client to engage in some deep due diligence. I'm in real estate, one of our favorite words. Drop that in the comments below, due diligence. With not only that client, but others as well, as I believe breakdowns usually show up elsewhere. What do you offer in terms of solving problems? Guess what? When I consult with my clients, I actually have it as part of our consultation. I say, listen, I will not hold you to this contract. I will release you if there's an issue. But I ask, please allow us 24 hours to resolve it. What is your window of resolving it? How do we fix it? Because if we agree to disagree at some place, at some point, I ask you, communicate with me. You let me know, because I'm providing a service and an experience. Your experience of me and my company is important. I value that. In fact, I'm saying to the client, I value it so much that if there's an issue, I want you to tell me. This is a safe space. Are you creating a safe space for your clients and customers? We talked about that. Are you creating a safe space for your clients and customers to say, I got a problem? And oftentimes I let my clients know, although we have this team and the vendors are an extension of me, if you have an issue with them, let me know so that I can address it. I got to be auntie. I got to be somebody's mommy, right? I need to fix it. Are you providing that for your clients? Absolutely. Daryl says due diligence is very important. Let's continue. He says the discovery process revealed that delivery times were inconsistent and account reps were making promises that were not being kept by service team. Are you, what's the saying? Under promise and over deliver. Are you making promises you cannot fulfill? I know we kind of get excited about, gets locking in the deal and the contracts, but now it's time to perform. That's still your personal brand. He says, as suspected, similar breakdowns had occurred with other customers. Excuse me. He says, at the same time, their closest competitor was providing my client's customer with solid proof that they would deliver on time, providing references to that end. Already, the other competitor was making a move and showing, hey, really, you're having that issue? Well, this is what our process is. This is how we handle it. Interesting. He says the competitor's brand account was building equity before there was even a formal relationship. Be mindful. He says, while my client's account was shrinking to the point of closure, you're holding on to those relationships. Are you working with clients that you are holding on to? And there could be some other issues, but put the systems and processes, put the process and systems in place so that when there's a breakdown, there's a disconnect, they're not responding, you're starting to feel drained, examine what is happening here. Don't just try to, I can't wait to get rid of this client. I can't wait to be done. I can't wait to close. Cut it. Start to examine, why are you experiencing that? Why are you and your team feeling that? Because guess what? If you're feeling it, your client's feeling it too. I have to point because I'm going to do this, right? Put you on notice. It's not just you that's feeling that way. They're feeling something too. You want to have great people skills? Be a person. Pay attention. All right, let's continue. He says, according to several clients, there wasn't one big thing that was straining the relationship, but instead a buildup of consistently broken commitments and small annoyances that were fragmented the brand of the people in the company. See that? See it right there? It's a consistent. It starts to snowball. How many of us have experienced that? It becomes one thing after the next, and you're like, this is not how it's supposed to go. And it's on us to nip it in the bud. He says trust to get the job done was eroding quickly. The client made a series of new commitments and improved some strained relationships, but unfortunately wasn't able to save their biggest client relationship. Imagine if every client was worth $1 million to you. Because I've noticed this as well. You feel if someone's not spending as much with you, then they shouldn't be getting excellent service, superior services, top service, top flight, top brand. Examine that. Are you feeling and thinking it's not worth my time? Let me remind you that every person knows about 200 people on average, and it is your job, it is your duty in service, servitude, selling that product for that one person to connect with at least 10%, connect you with at least 10% of who they know. So if they know 200 people, then that's about 20 people that they get to talk about you with others in terms of their brand experience of you. Be mindful that they may not be selling or they may not be buying so much with you, but someone else they know can. And so they should say, you know what, even though I did this, right, even though it was $200,000 home, guess what? My partner, my boss, or someone else who's in, the 600,000 or the million, and that's the level up, right? It's because what can you do with little? What is the saying, right? If I bless you with so much, will you do well? Will you do better? But I've given you this. I've tested you with this, and you didn't perform. We want so much, and we want the big, and we want the grandiose. But you've been given an opportunity every single day to show up and show out. He says, as I said, our brand is what it is. And the outcomes of our performance are dependent on results. Sometimes with grace, most times not. All right, drop down in the comments below. Grace. Ooh, you can leave and end a relationship with grace. So if it's not working out in terms of that contract, that client, with the client customer experience, you can end it with grace. Be mindful of that. So for this week, let's start paying attention about who are we making those spiritual deposits into in terms of our relationship. And is it time this week to close out some things that aren't working together, working out? And if we do that, let's be sure to end it gracefully. Why? Because then they'll say, you know what? Someone can reflect. They get to reflect at a later time. You have an opportunity now because we're discussing it, and you've been placed on notice with Shift Your Thinking that you can be mindful, right? It's mindful. You can be mindful that, you know what, this isn't working out, but I can be graceful and professional in the process of ending it. They have time to reflect and say, you know what, Miss Taylor, Brother Muhammad, Dexter, even though I was upset, or I did this, they still were respectful. They handled me. They provided an alternative option. They referred me out to someone else. They recommended something else that they felt was better suited because they couldn't do. It's okay if you don't do everything. In fact, you don't want to have to do everything. That's what networking is about, and building your team is so that if it doesn't work with you or something you can't offer, you can pass them on gracefully to someone else. All right, that's my time. With that, I say have a powerful and productive day. We'll see you next Monday on Shift Your Thinking.